Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Analytics Bootcamp. In today's session, we are going to be looking at data analysis. And what is data analysis? Data analysis is just the process of extracting meaningful and insightful information from data. And for this session, we are going to be looking at data analysis in Excel. As we all know, there are several tools in Excel that we can use to carry data analysis. And one of the tools that we are going to be looking at today is the pivot table. So, what is pivot table? A pivot table is a powerful tool in Excel that allows you to summarize, analyze, and present large data sets in a structured and meaningful way. Pivot table can quickly summarize large amounts of data into concise and understandable information. Pivot table offers flexibility in rearranging and reorganizing data feeds to view data from different perspectives. Pivot table can perform various calculations such as sum, average, minimum, maximum, and minimum. So, how can we use these pivot table tools to analyze a data in Excel? Firstly, let's look at the business scenario here. Let's assume as a data analyst, a superstore, an e-commerce store has reached out to me complaining about their drop in sales over a period of time now. As a data analyst, after communicating the problem to me, I tend to identify the questions, tend to break down the problem into several questions that can give me insight into what is really going on with their sales. So after identifying the questions and the problem, the data is collected. And these are the data that we have here. So we collect this data on their past sales. And the information collected are the order ID, order date, ship mode, customer ID, customer name, country, sales, quantity, discount, profit, and minimum. Now, how do I use pivot table to answer the questions that I've already prepared? Now, let's look at the questions that I have here. So these are the questions that will give me insight into what is really going on with Superstore. So how do I answer this question with pivot table? So before we go to answering the questions, first of all, let's look at the pivot table and how it works. Now, to enable the pivot table in Excel, we come to the Insert tab, click on the pivot table option here, and it's going to bring out a dialog box that where are we getting our data from? Are we getting our data from a table range or from an external data source? If I'm getting my data from an external data source, I can easily click on it and click on the source I'm getting my data from. But for this particular problem, we are getting our data from this particular range that we have open here. So I'm going to click on table range. So after clicking on table range, you can see it has highlighted all the range of the data set that I have currently here, from A1 to T33,000, like that. Now the next one is, where do you want to put your result? So it's asking me, do I want to put my result in a new worksheet or an existing worksheet? So I'm putting my result in a new worksheet. So I click OK. Now, after clicking OK, a pivot table option open up like this. The left-hand side is where we have our results or our table, while the right-hand side is where we have the pivot table feed. And under the pivot table feeds, we have the variables column present in the data set that we want to analyze. So these are all the variables in the data set. And downward, we have some major rectangular box. We have the filter, we have the column, we have the row, we have the values. And this is where we carry out our analysis in pivot table. The filter option is just majorly used for filtering your information after analyzing it, while the column and the row only is used for the arrangement of the data. For example now, if I drag the region, or let's say for example, I drag the city to the row field, you can see the way the data table is being arranged there now. And also if I drag it to the column field, it's also arranged on the column basis. So the row and column are actually dependent on the way you want your result to look like, or the arrangement of your table. So for example now, I'm dragging it on the row field. And the value field is where you drag the metrics you are trying to calculate. For example, now if I'm trying to calculate the total sales based on city, I can drag the sales variable into the value field. Now, the value field only contains the metrics you are trying to calculate. And like I said earlier in one of our sessions, when you drag in a numeric value, when you drag in a numeric value into the value field, automatically by default, the types of calculation it does on the variable is sum. It sum everything up. You can change your calculation to whatever it is that you want by clicking on the sales, the drop down arrow, and clicking on the value field settings. And you can see several calculations there. You can change it to count, you can change it to average, maximum, minimum, depending on the type of analysis you are trying to carry out. So another thing is, whenever I drag in categorical data into the value field, the only form of calculation I'm going to get is count. Like I said earlier, when I was differentiating between qualitative and quantitative data set. Qualitative is a categorical data, and the only calculation you can carry out on a categorical data set is count, nothing more. But for a numeric data set, you can carry out sum, average, minimum, maximum, and many more like that. So now let's dive into the questions to answer. Let's dive into questions so as to provide answers for Superstore. So the first question I have is, which region generate the most sales? Which region generate the most sales? So I go to my pivot table sheet. Now to get the regions that generate the most sales, that means I'm going to be using the region variable and the sales variable. So in that case, I'm going to be dragging the region to the row field. Dragging the region to the row field. So I'm going to drag the region to the row field. So I get the unique region that I have here. And I'm going to be dragging the sales to the value field. And this will give me the total sales made in each region. So to get the region that has the highest sales, I can easily just sort this one in descending order. If the variables are really long, but this is not really long, we can really check through, or we can also sort it in descending order so that the highest region will be at the top. And you can see it's still the central region that made the highest sales. So that's question number one. Now, if I also want to see this sales by region on customer segment, so what is the sales by region for each customer segment? So what I can do is this. I can drag the customer segment into the column field. And this is going to give me a tabular arrangement of the sales by region and customer segment. So you can know what is the total sales made for each region in each customer segment. So that's the arrangement. Now you can change the orientation of your arrangement from column to row. So I can bring in my customer segment to the row and take my region to the column. So depending on the arrangement that you want, or you can put the two on a row basis and you can see the arrangement. So the way you want your result to appear will determine how you use the row and column field here. So that's question number one. So for question number two, it said which customer segment generate the highest sales? So which customer segment generate the highest sales? So I can easily just drag in the customer segment into the row field and drag in the sales into the value field. And we can see the customer segment with the highest sales, which is the consumer. Sorry, is it the consumer? I think it's the home office. So we can, yeah, it's the consumer. It's the consumer. And that's question number two. Now, question number three says, which category of product generate the highest profit? Which category of product generates the highest profit? So for this particular question, we are going to be using category variable against the profit. So clicking on ourselves now. So we have I will drag all these ones out to answer the next question. So I drag in the category variable into the row field, and I drag in the profit into the value field. Now you can see from here that is the office supplies category that made the highest profit. The other profits are negative. That shows that doing very, very badly. Now the next question is, what are the top selling products? Now this question, top selling products can be probably top selling product based on the sales amount or based on the number of counts, the number of times the product is being sold. So that's the question. So is it based on sales amount or the number of times the product is being sold? We can easily answer the two questions. So for this now, and when we are looking for the top selling products, are we looking for the top 10 or top 5? That can also be another question we want to answer. Let's say, for example, we are looking for the top 5 selling product based on sales amount and the amount, the count sold. That is, number of time customer has bought that particular product. So for that, I can actually duplicate this table now. So you can have several tables in Excel. So let's say I duplicate this table now, and I press it, Control V. So what is happening is like Excel can still, same pivot table field can control the same the two tables. So by if you click on one, automatically the pivot table is going to adjust itself based on that particular table. And when you click on the other one, it's still going to adjust itself based on the table. But you can only do one at a time. So for example now, I want to know the top selling product. So what I need to do is just bring the product name to the row field, drag the product name to the row field, then I drag the sales amount to the value field. Now, for me to get the top 5 selling product based on the sales amount, I can easily do that by just clicking on this filter option here. Click on value filter and click on top 10. So after clicking on top 10, I can change this one to top 5. And you see, by sales amount. And this is the top 5 selling product based on the sales amount. Now, to get the top 5 selling product based on the number of time the product is sold. So I copy this, well, Ctrl V, and for this, I'm going to drag out this product. So to get the top selling product in terms of count now, so I'm going to drag the same product name into the value field. And I say when I drag a categorical variable to the value field, what it gives me is what is the count. So it's going to give me the number of occurrence of each product. So I'm going to drag the product name into the value field, and we can see now. So you can see that this product has been bought so time. This product has been ordered so time. This product has been ordered so time. So for me to get the top 5, I can just click on the filter option here. So go to value filter, then click on top 5. So top 10 and change it to top 5. And that will give me my answer. And this is the top 5 selling product based on the count of products. So that's another answer to the question. So the next question is, which customer has made the most purchase in terms of number of orders? Which customer has made the most purchase in terms of number of orders? So to answer that question, the customer that has made the most purchase in terms of number of order, that means we are going to be using the customer name and the order ID. So for this now, those are the two columns that are involved for that. So I'm going to be dragging the customer name to the row field and the number of the order ID to show the number of times that each customer has made an order, and drag it to the row value field. You can see order ID is the category data, so it's giving me the count. So I can only do count with this. I can't do sum or average because it's the category data. So to get the customer with the highest number of order, so I'm going to do top 1. So I'm going to value field, click on top 10, and I can change this top 10 to top 1. That's the top 1. And this is the name of the product, Tracy. And he has ordered 1,575 times. That's huge. So the next question we want to answer now is what customer segment has the highest profit margin? What customer segment has the highest profit margin? So let's assume that there is no profit margin in our data set. So how do we create the profit margin? And we all know the formula for profit margin is profit divided by sales. Profit divided by sales. Profit over revenue. Revenue is not sales. So to calculate that one, so I can create a calculated field to calculate the profit margin in pivot table. So how do you create a calculated field in pivot table? So to create a calculated field in pivot table, I'm going to come to the pivot table analyze option at the top and click on the field. So if I click on the field, click on calculated field. For calculated field, I can just call it profit M. Let me just call it profit M. That's profit margin. Now, the next thing is to type in the formula for the profit margin. So for the profit margin, I'm going to be using the profit column, insert it to the field, divided by the sales. Select the sales here, insert it to the field, and click OK. And you can see Excel has automatically created the profit margin column. Then I can drag in, based on our question, they said they want to see the what? Customer segment with the highest profit margin. So I can drag in the customer segment now into the row field. And you can see, so I can convert this one to percentage to get the answer in percentage. Select all these, then come to home and click on percentage. And we can see the customer segment with the highest profit margin is the home office with 17% profit margin. And that is that for that. So the next question, which is the last question for this pivot table, is Which period experienced the highest sales? Now, when we are looking at the period that experienced the highest sales, are we looking at the period based on year, quarter, or month? So we can easily just look at these different periods and see how it affects our sales. So come to pivot table here. So remove all this. Now, for me to get the sales based on period, then I have to use the order date column, because order date is when the customer order a particular product, and that will give us information of how we are doing in terms of period. So I drag the order date to the row field. Now, when you drag the order date to the row field, Excel automatically group the date. So the grouping Excel is doing is grouping the date based on month and day. You can see it has grouped it based on month, January to February, and based on month and day. So another thing is this: you can change the default grouping that Excel is giving you. So how do I change the grouping? Probably I want it to be in year, quarter, month, and day. So I can do that by selecting any option from this, selecting any cell from this date column here. Right click on it. After right clicking on it, you see the group option. Click on group. And from the group now, I can select the order at which I want Excel to group my days. So I want it to be month, day, and year. So just select the three like that. And I click OK. And you can see Excel automatically group the whole thing based on month, day, and year. So we have the month here. You can just close this thing. So it has grouped it based on year. So if I wanted to see my sales based on year, so I can drag the sales variable. Drag this, you can see the grouping has done. You can see days, month, quarter, and year. So you can group your other dates based on that. So for me to get the sales based on year, so I'm going to drag the sales to the value field. And we can see our trends of sales over the year. And from this, we can know the year that has the highest sales. So it's 2014 that has the highest sales. And you can see over the years, the sales has been dropping. And that is why Superstore is complaining. The sales has been dropping. So I can easily just check the sales over a month too. So let me just say, okay, whether there's a seasonality effect on the data set. So for all the years, let me see how the sales is doing over the month. So I can remove all these year, quarter, and day to get the result for the month now. So this result is giving me the total sales over the month for all the years. So how we are doing for each month for all the years. So from this we can determine whether there's a seasonality effect in our sales. Probably okay, we have much sales during this particular period, or we have much lower sales during this particular period. Just for us to understand our the way we are doing. So that's that. You can see the sales based on month, and we can sort it to see the month that has the highest sales. It's September. Now we can also want to see this now based on okay our sales per month over a region to see whether okay maybe there's a particular month that each one particular region is doing well compared to the other. So I can drag the region to the column field just to have an understanding of what is really going on with our sales. And from this we can tell whether okay it is when it's September, central region and east region tend to do more than the other region. When it is October, south and west region tend to do more than the other region. So this can give us some information of what's really going on and where we can put in our energy during a particular period of time, uh or type of regions we can also like focus on. So that for pivot table. So another thing I want to talk about pivot table is that you can filter this result based on a particular variable. Let's say I want to filter this result based on the category. Now, these are the results for all categories. So if I wanted to see the result for a particular category, maybe technology category now, I'll select it. After dragging my category to filter, I come here, it's showing all here. That means all the categories present. So to see a particular category, I select the category I want, probably technology, and I click OK. So this one is giving me sales for only technology category for each region and month. So I can also say, okay, furniture category, and it's giving me an answer. And I can select multiple category. Probably I want to see the sales for furniture and office supply. So I'm going to select multiple items and select the two items and click OK. And this will give me the sales for furniture and office supply. And that is how you can analyze your data with pivot table. Thank you. Another data analysis tools we are going to be looking at in Excel is the what if analysis. What is what if analysis? What if analysis in Excel refers to a set of tools and techniques that allows you to explore different scenarios and analyze how changes in input values affect the result or outcome of a formula, model, or a data set. It contains three main functions such as GoSeek, data table, and scenario manager. In this session, we are going to be looking at how we can apply these functions to solve a business problem or analyze a data in Excel. So the first function we are going to be looking at is the GoSeek. What is GoSeek? GoSeek is a tool that helps you to determine the input value needed to achieve a desired result in a formula. For example, you can use GoSeek to find out what sales target is required to reach a specific profit goal. Now, let's dive into Excel and let's apply this GoSeek function to solve a business problem. Currently in my Excel sheet, I already set up a business problem that I want to use GoSeek to solve. So let me just give you the overview of the business problem. Now, let's assume that I want company A, and company A is producing products A. Now, each product we produce in company A goes for $5 as our selling price. And currently for this business here, I'm producing 100 quantity. And for each quantity produced, we have to pay a commission rate of 10%. Now, after setting up the model and calculating everything, I find out that my take-home revenue is $450 from this model that we have here. Now, I want to increase my take-home revenue to $1,000 as my goal. And I want to do that by increasing the number of quantity produced. But I can't really determine the number of quantity I'm to produce for me to achieve the 1,000 revenue goal. Now, one of the tools we can use to solve this problem is known as the goal seek. So I want to determine the optimal number of quantity to produce for me to achieve my 1,000 revenue, $1,000 revenue goal. How can I use goal seek to solve this problem? So the first thing is I'm going to go to data tab up here. After selecting on the data tab, come to the left hand side and click on the drop down arrow on the goal seek. After selecting the goal seek, I'm going to see this what if analysis tool and select the goal seek from it. Now, when you open the goal seek dialog box, it's going to bring out three parameters. The first one is the set cell, the second one is the value, and the third one is the changing cells. So the first one, which is the set cell, contains the cell of your goal, which is the revenue in this case. So I'm going to be putting the revenue cell here as my set cell. And to what value? The next one is asking for the value of my goal that I want to achieve. So I'm going to type in the value of the goal I want to achieve there, which is the $1,000 revenue. Now, the third one is by changing what cell. So the cell I want to adjust for me to achieve that particular goal is the quantity. So I want to determine the number of quantity to produce for me to get the 1,000 revenue goal. So I'm going to select the quantity cell. Now, after doing all this, I'm going to click OK, and Excel is going to give me the number of quantity of good to produce for me to achieve my desired goal. So when I click OK, Excel automatically give me the optimum number of quantity to produce. So I'm to produce 222 quantity of product A for me to achieve my 1,000 revenue goal. And that's how you can use GoSeek to solve a business problem. Now let's look at another scenario that we have here. Let's read out the problem statement says it is a typical business situation. You have the sales figure for the first three quarters, and you want to know how much sales you have to make in the last quarter to achieve the target net profit for the year. Say $100,000. Now, this is my model. So I've set up this is the amount, the gross, uh, the number of, the figure I made in the first quarter and the second quarter the third quarter, from it, I was able to calculate my profit and get my net profit as this. Now, the problem is now if I want to make $100,000 as my net profit, as my net profit, net total profit. Now, I want to know how much money must I make in the fourth quarter for me to meet my goal, and the goal is $100,000. So I already set up the business model here. You can see the total profit is the addition of all the net profits, and this is the gross revenue that I make in each year. So I want to know what is how much must I make in the Q4 for me to meet the desired result of $100,000. Now, to do that, we can also use GoSeek to answer that kind of problem. So I'm going to go to the what if analysis, select GoSeek. Now, in this case, the set cell is the cell of the total profit, which is this. So I'm going to select the set cell, which is E15. It's the cells that contains my total profit that I want to achieve. Now, the value is what is the my goal value? So the goal value here is $100,000. So I'm going to type in $100,000. Now, by changing what cell? So the cells I want to change is my amount that I made in what in Q4. So I'm going to select the Q4. Say so after clicking OK, the goal seek is going to give me the optimum number of revenue I have to make in Q4 for me to achieve my desired goal. You can see. So for me to achieve my desired goal, I have to make $185,714 in Q4 for me to achieve my desired goal of $100,000 as my net profit for the year. And that's another way we can use GoSeek to solve the problem. So the last problem we're going to be looking at for GoSeek is this. So at the end of the course, a student takes 3 exams. The passing score is 70%. All the exams have the same weight, so the overall score is calculated by averaging the 3 scores. The student has already taken 2 out of 3 exams. The question is, what score does the student need to get for the third exam to pass the entire course? So we want to know what is the score this student must get for the third exam for him to achieve the 70% pass score. Now, to get that, we can also apply GoSeek for that to that. So by just going to the what if analysis, GoSeek, and for this, the set cell for us is the final score, the passing score. So we are going to select the passing score, which is the cells that contains the goal. Now, to what value? So it needs to achieve 70% goal. So I'm going to type in 70% here. And by by changing what cell? By changing the third exam. So he wants to know what score he must have in the third exam for him to achieve the 70% pass score. So I'm going to select the cell there and click OK. And for him to pass or to have a pass score of 70%, he must at least get 67% in his third exam. And that will wrap it up for our GoSeek exercise. Now, the next one we are going to be looking at is the data table. What is data table in Excel? Data tables are used to perform sensitivity analysis by analyzing how changes in one or two input variable affect the final output or result of a formula or model. Excel supports both one variable and two variable data tables. To create a one variable data table, set up a table where one variable input changes across the columns and the formula or result you want to analyze changes down the row. For a two variable data table, we have to input two variables that changes across the top rows and left column with the resulting value displayed in the cells of the table. Now, let's go to Excel and look at some exercise to understand this thing better. So I'm currently in my Excel now. Now, let me give us a overview of this problem statement that we have here. Let's say, for example, I'm the manager of a football stadium and it's the time for is a football season already. Now, The stadium has the capacity of 15,000. You can take in 15,000 people at a time. Now, as a businessman, I've decided to sell 40% of 15,000 tickets for as a VIP ticket, and the unit price for a VIP ticket goes for $300. While the remaining 60% goes for the general, and which that one goes for $250. Now, I've set up my business model now. So if I'm selling 40% of the ticket for 300, I'm going to be making a revenue of 1.8 million. And if I'm selling the rest of the ticket, means the other 60% for 250, I'm going to for 250 per ticket, I'm going to be making a revenue of 2.2 million. Now, the total revenue I'm going to be making from the sale of this ticket is 4.4 million. Now, as a businessman, I want to increase the percentage of the tickets sold for the maximum selling price of 300 to see how much I'm going to be making. So I want to increase the percentage of the tickets sold for maximum selling price to 50%, 60%, 70%, and 80% to see what is the corresponding revenue. Now, for this now, I'm going to be using data table to solve this problem. So I have to set up the uh, my data table problem first. So for this case, I want to be increasing the ticket to 50%, 60%, and let me try to 50%, 60% to 80%. Now, so I want to know the corresponding revenue for each of these percentage of tickets sold at the maximum selling price, leaving the other one constant. So for this case, to set up a data table for this, I'm going to bring in the final formula, which is the total revenue, to the top of the column here by just calling it by the cell name so as to retain the formula. So I'm going to be equals to H5. So I have my total revenue here, which is the goal. Now, to use data table to solve this problem, so I have to align the two cells. Highlight it this way, then go to the what if analysis and select the data table. After selecting the data table, it's going to ask me what is the corresponding row input or column input that I have to use from the above formula. Now, notice that my result is under the column. I want to put my result on this column. So the row input in this case is going to be empty. So what I'm going to be supplying here is the column input. And what is the corresponding value for the column input in the model above? It is this cell, which is the cells that contains the percentage of the ticket sold for maximum selling price. So I'm going to select the cells that correspond to the value that I'm changing here, which is this for the column input. So after selecting it and click OK, Excel automatically generates the corresponding revenue for me for each of these scenario. For example, so if I increase the maximum selling price ticket to 50%, I'm going to be getting this revenue. Let me try and format this. So I'm going to be getting this revenue of 4.1 million. If I increase to 60%, I'm going to be getting this revenue. If I increase to 70%, I'm going to be getting this total revenue. And if I increase to 80%, I'm going to be getting total revenue. Leaving the other one, which is 60% constant, just actually only adjusting the tickets sold, percentage of tickets sold for maximum selling price. Now, the other scenario, this is a one variable data table because I'm only changing one variable, which is the percentage of tickets sold for maximum selling price. Now, if I want to consider two variables, that is, if I want to change two variables at a time. So let's say I want to increase the percentage of tickets sold for maximum selling price. And also, I want to increase the price of the ticket sold for the minimum selling price. For example, I want to increase the percentage of this ticket sold for maximum selling price and the price of the ticket sold for the minimum price of the minimum selling price. So I want to increase the two at the same time. So in this case, this is an example of a two variable data table. So in this case, let's say for example, I want to increase the ticket to 260, 270, 280 to see my corresponding revenue. So in that case, I'm going to bring in my total revenue, which is my goal, at the top of the cell here, and just use the formula. After doing that, I'm going to select the whole cell, come to data table, on the what if analysis and select data table. Now, in this case, since I'm dealing with two variables, so I'm going to be supplying the two variables. So the value for the row input, which is this, the value for the row input in this case is my the cells from the model is the cell of the cells that contains the minimum selling price, which is 250. So I'm going to select the row input for this. And the one for the column input, obviously, is this other one, which is the minimum selling price. So after inputting the cells from the model, I'm going to click OK, and Excel is going to calculate the corresponding revenue for this option. You can see now. So Excel has automatically generated the answers for me. Let me try and format this. So if the percentage of the tickets sold for maximum selling price increase to 50% and I increase the minimum selling price to 260, then I'm going to be getting a corresponding revenue of 4.2 million. Same goes for if I increase this to 50% and I increase this minimum selling price to 270, I'm going to get in this. And for minimum selling price of 280. So if I increase the percentage of ticket to 60% and I increase the price to 260, I'm going to be getting this. And this is how you can use data table to solve a business problem in Excel. Now let's look at the last function that we have in data in a what if analysis, which is the scenario manager. Now, what is a scenario manager? A scenario manager allows you to create and manage multiple scenarios based on different sets of inputs. This is useful for comparing and analyzing outcome under various conditions or assumptions. Let's also look at how we can use this scenario manager to also analyze, solve a problem, business problem in Excel. So I'm currently going to my Excel now. So this is the business scenario that I have for Boost. Let's say, for example, I own a company known as Company A, and I'm producing 5 products, product A two. I'm producing 5 products, product A, B, C, D, and E. Now, this is my business model for the year. So the quantity of goods I'm going to produce, the unit cost of the goods, the unit price, the tax rate I'm paying on each of these products, the total cost after calculating unit cost times quantity, revenue, that's unit price times quantity, and the profit, corresponding profit. So after creating this model, I get my total profit to be $241 for this production system. But I'm not really satisfied with this profit. So I'm looking to, I've met with the stakeholders and we are considering increasing this profit. Now, we have already drawn up a scenario, a best case scenario, an average case scenario for us to increase this profit. But what we want to check is by how much is this case going to increase our profit? And we want to see the margin, whether it's really worth it or not. So this is the best case scenario, best case business scenario that I've come up with. So the best case business scenario is that we want to increase our quantity to increase our profits. Now, so the best case is increasing the quantity of product A from the 34 to 62, product B to 40, product C to 50, product D to 41, product E to 58. And for the average case scenario, we want to increase this quantity by all this. Now we want to use scenario manager to identify the best case scenario and the average case scenario and see how and to look at it and see by how much they really affect our profits, whether they really contribute to it or not, or is it something that we can go on with or not. Now, to analyze this type of business problem, we are going to be using scenario manager. So, to use the scenario manager, I'm going to come to the what if analysis here under the data table, select the what if analysis and select scenario manager. Now, I already select this, so let me delete this, delete, and delete. Now, to add my scenario to the scenario manager, so what I need to do first is click on add. So when I click on add, scenario manager is going to ask for the name of the scenario I want to currently input now. So I want to input the best case scenario first. Best case scenario. And what is the changing cell? So this case now, the changing cell is the cell from my business model, which is the quantity. So I'm going to select the whole cell by just selecting everything like this. So after selecting, you can see C4 to C8. Okay, okay. I'm going to select, click on OK. So when I click on OK, Excel is asking me, okay, what do I want to change this variable to? So now I already have my best case scenario variable here. So the first one, which is the C4, I'm changing it to 64 to what? 34 to 62. And the second one, I'm changing it from 23 to 40. And I'm changing it to 50 to uh, 50. And the second one, I'm changing it to 41. The third one, I'm changing to 58. So after selecting that, I'm going to click add to add second scenario or business or case. So the second one is the average case. Average case. So for this one, I'm also considering the C4 to C8, which is the quantity column. I'm going to click OK. So it's asking me the value for the average. So the first one is 42. So the second one is 30. So the third one is 40. The other one is 31. And the last one is 43. So after supplying my business case scenario, so I'm going to click OK. Now, to get my results, I'm going to come to the summary here. Summary from the scenario manager dialog. Click on summary. So after I click on summary, I'm going to click on scenario summary. Now, the last one is asking for the result cell. So the result cell is a cell of my profit, which I have here. Automatically is already selected, which is I9. So I'm going to put the results cell here, which is the goal we wanted to check. So after clicking OK, Excel is going to generate a business scenario for me. And what is the corresponding profit? So for the current value, I'm making 241 dollars as my profit. So for the best case scenario, if I adjust all this cell, this is the corresponding profit I'm going to be making 431. And for the average case, this is the corresponding profit I'm going to be making 324. And from this, we can see that the best case scenario is the best one we should go for. And that is how you can use scenario manager to solve a business problem. And this will wrap it up for our what if analysis in Excel. Thank you. Okay, for this last part of Excel, we're going to be talking about data visualization. Like I already said earlier, data visualization is just a way of graphically representing your data. And we have different type of charts. We have bar charts, we have line charts, we have a pie chart, we have histograms, and many more like that. So how do we now represent this? How to represent our data in form of a chart? So one of the things you have to consider when you are presenting your data uh, in form of a chart is the type of information you are passing across and the data type. So the type of information you are passing across and the data type will determine the appropriate chart for you to use to represent this data. Now let's just look at an example of different charts and how you can create them in Excel. So the first chart I'm going to be looking at is bar charts, which is very, very common. Let's say, for example, now I want to check the total unit price for each operating system. I want to represent the total unit price for each operating system. And the type of chart that will be best for that is a bar chart because we have each bar for each operating system. And on the y-axis, we have the total unit price. So to do that, I'm going to be selecting the two column. You can represent your charts in Excel in two ways by ordinarily using the uh, normal static chart that we have here, or use the pivot chart. So we're going to be looking at the two and how you can make best use of them. So for the first one, we are going to be using the normal chart. Normally, whenever you come to Excel to create a chart, when you click on the recommended chart after selecting your data, Excel is going to recommend the best chart for you based on the data selected. So majority of the time, a lot of people come to recommended charts, and when they click on it, and you can see Excel has automatically give them the best chart for it, like a bar chart. So that's the first one. But for me, majorly, the best chart I actually use, the best form of chart that I use to like represent my data is actually pivot chart. Because when we are using pivot chart, it gives you the summary of the data set and it tends to represent it very, very, very well. So for this, I'm going to be using, let me use pivot chart for this. So I'm going to be selecting and go to pivot chart. So, okay, what chart do I want to plot? So for the first one is asking for the axis, like what you want to be on the x-axis and what you want it to be on the value, which is the y-axis. So I'm going to be dragging operating system to the axis. I'm going to be dragging unit price to the value. And you can see it has automatically give me a bar chart. This is a bar chart in pivot chart. And this is what I mean by summary. It's going to summarize it. You can see the corresponding table by the left hand side. So sometimes it is good to use pivot chart so that you can get the summarizing table and you can carry out or do whatever form of analysis you feel like you want to do. It might be sum, it might be count, it might be anything. You can easily do it there and it's going to represent it on your chart. So after selecting this, so the next thing you want to do now is um you might want to go to the field buttons to remove all these reports and everything. You don't really need all these options or the show legend, show axis, remove everything. You don't really need it. And that's that. So this is our chart in Excel. So how do I format this type of chart in Excel? Although it might not be looking so glamorous now or looking somehow. So we can actually like format it and make it look much more better in Excel. So the first thing is this. Let me come to the design option here. Let's say, for example, I'm not actually contented with this type of chart that I use. Because by default, when you use pivot chart, it tends to give you bar chart. So probably if I want to change the chart type, so I can just come to the design and go to change chart type. So when you click on change chart type, and you can see these are different types of chart that you can use. We have line chart, pie chart, bar chart, area chart, X and Y chart, map, and different type of chart is there. So I might say, okay, I want to use bar chart. Column chart is the represent vertical representation of bar, while the bar chart is the horizontal representation of the bar. So that's it. So when you say column, that means vertical. When you say bar, that means horizontal. So I'm going to select, let me see, I want to use bar chart. For this case now, that's bar chart. So click OK. You can see it's representing my data horizontal. So, this data is not really arranged the way I want. So probably I want to arrange it in descending order or ascending order based on the type of information I want my stakeholders to see. So I can just sort it out just to make the chart look orderly. So click on the data table that we have here and click on sort from largest to smallest. To get it in saying that that'd be like smallest largest. So that's fine. Yeah, I think this one is better. Yeah. So we have the chart now. Yeah. So after creating the chart, I might want to remove the whole thing. To format the chart, I'm going to click on the chart element. So chart element shows me the options that I can use to format my chart. So I don't like grid lines. I'm going to remove grid lines. And what else do I want to remove? I don't like grid lines. So I want to put the label in front of the charts or inside the chart. So I can put the label in front of the chart. That's the label of the chart. That's the total unit price for each operating system. So I can also adjust it to like, okay, put it inside end that is inside end of the chart. And since it's black, I can format it, just select it like that. Come to insert, home, and change the color to white. Bolding it to make it look. You can increase the font size. So you can see the chart is looking better now. So I don't really need the legend. Remove the legend. It's not needed. So since I've put the label inside the chart, so I don't really need the X label downward here. So I can just come here. Primary horizontal. So I can use horizontal. Yeah, that's been removed. Now this bar actually looks so thin. So I want to increase it by something. So to increase the bar width, I want to increase the bar width so that it can look so I can just double click on the bar. So when you double click on the bar, it's going to bring out the format data series here. So that format data series to increase the bar width, so you are going to like reduce the gap width. So when you increase the gap width, you can see the thing is changing. So I'm currently using like 3%. Initially it was in 103. So they had the percentage, the thinner the bar, so I'm going to reduce it so that it thick as small. Now it's looking like what I want it to be. Yeah. So another thing is for this label, I can increase this size a bit, just put it as 10 or 10.5. Yeah. So that one is like that. And what else do I want to do here? Give it a label. So the label is can be okay. Operating system by unit price or any label you want to give it to it. So that just don't mind now. So operating system by unit price. So this is the chart and this is the weight, like one of the weights, and you can see the chart is looking actually looking good. So you can change the color of the bar to whatever you want. So to change the color of the bar, you can come here under this fill. You can see this thing that looks like bucket after clicking on the bar. So it comes to fill. So from here you can change the color. Probably I want it to be harsh. Uh, actually looks somehow. Actually looks somehow. So maybe this deep blue. Yeah, this one might look like it. And and that's about creating the charts in Excel. So that's just using pivot chart, and it's one of the ways that I recommend, because when you're using pivot chart, it tends to summarize your data the way you want it, and you can change the summarization to probably count, average, mean the metrics to what you want. So that's one way of visualizing your data in Excel. Another way can be, let's say for example now I want to see um what is the unit price, uh trends of the unit price over time. What's the trend of the unit price over time? Trend of unit price over time. So I'm going to select this first one. So what I'm going to do, because I'm using this column and I'm using this column, unit price and date. So what I'm going to do now is select the date column, hold down the control button and select the unit price. So that will select only the two options. And I can come to my chart. So you can also try this other chart here. You can see when you click on recommended chart, it's automatically giving you a line chart, which is the best way to represent this type of information. Because what I want to see is I want to see the trends of my unit price over a period of time. So the best way to represent that will be a line chart. And you can see it's giving me the line chart day by day. And I can select this and click OK and use it. And also I can also use pivot charts by just coming to pivot charts. I don't know. I like representing data or pivot chart. It's much more easier and give me the options to adjust my charts the way I want. Okay, so the chart data source. Okay, okay. So let's select the two and the control button, and um, let's just select the whole table. Because if you are doing pivot chart, you can select the whole table and can remove, select the column that you want. Select the whole table. You have selected the whole table. And for this, I'm going to drag the date to the row field and drag the unit price to the value. And that's that. So, like I said earlier, by default, I said the pivot chart gives you bar chart. So I want to change this one to line charts now. So I come to design, change chart type, and I can select line charts, and it's giving me my thing. So now, when we were talking about pivot chart the other time, we explained something about dates, that you can group your dates to like maybe days. Based on the days I have here, it's just, I don't think it's up to a month. It's just like a week. Let's see whether we can group it by day to get the day name. So group, let's see by this, just only by this. You can see 2nd of January. So we can't get more than this because, it's only a single day, just like a week or 2 weeks data set. So we can't get more than that. So that's the trends, and you can format these charts. Like I said, you come to the format, pivot charts, analyze. So remove all these other fields that we have here. Remove, 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 and remove. So you come to this side also. You can remove the grid lines. I don't like the grid lines. Remove the legend. so that you can have your chart. This thing. Actually, it's looking like it. For this, I want to put this, what's it called? The label there. And for this, you can have something like this. So you have line chart. So this is an example. I can edit the, what's it called now? The title, trends of unit price, or trends, or you can put a name. Let's click on it. Trends of unit price. And that can be. So that's another way to like represent your charts to in Excel. So what actually, like I said earlier, what actually determine how you represent your chart is the type of information that you are doing. So if you are representing a categorical data against a numeric data, it can be count or sum or average. So the best type of chart for that one is actually a bar chart. We are representing a trend over a period of time. You can use line charts or area charts. So area chart is, we are representing, if you are, area chart is used when you are showing the trends and the magnitude of the trends. Probably you are comparing two years together. You're trying to show the magnitude and everything like that. So you use an area chart. So we have line chart, area chart. I can also use a pie chart in place of bar charts. We have bar charts, we have funnel charts. So the only best way to do this is just like go online and do some research on, okay, the best type of chart for a problem. Because before we represent our chart, sometimes I did a bit of research on, okay, what is the best way to represent this type of chart and what is the best chart to use for this type of data. And by doing that, you tend to get more experience on how to represent your data better. So, and for this, that would be all on how to like visualize or represent our data in Excel. Thank you.